Hi, good afternoon class. Myself Anjum Abbasi. I am working on assistant professor post in Galgotia School of Nursing. So today I am going to take your medical surgical nursing in which we are going to learn assessment of critical ill patient. Our learning outcomes will be we need to identify the correct sequence of priorities in assessing the critically ill patient, and we need to see the state why it is important to have a systemic approach to assessment and care with the rationale for each step, and we need to identify clinical situation in which a patient's condition may become compromised. Then we need to demonstrate safe and effective assessment and care of the critically ill patient using a systematic approach. And next is the prevention. Okay, so healthcare workers should be competent enough in working a systemic and comprehensive approach to patient assessment to enable early recognition of potential or actual deterioration in the patient's condition. Next is the facts. What are the facts are there? So patient admitted from the wards to the ICU when compared to those admitted from the acute and emergency have a higher percentage mortality. So nearly 80% of hospital inpatients who experience a cardiorespiratory arrest have documented observation of deterioration in the 8 hours before the arrest. We need to learn what are the three key stages of recognition of treatment of critically ill patients. So first one is understanding. First one is understanding that an emergency exists, and second one is identifying and prioritizing the problems, and third one is action and evaluation. Next is assessment. So in assessment, what are the things and what are the steps we need to follow for assessing the patient critical conditions so that we can plan our nursing intervention. So first one is assessment is the first step in caring for patient, and assessing the critically ill patient is an essential part of their care. Second, we can say the careful assessment is a fundamental in order to recognize when a patient is becoming compromised. So by the time if we are recognizing the patient condition, so we can uh, plan better care for them. Next is nurse act as patient advocate, monitoring, anticipating potential problems, planning, implementing, and constantly evaluating the care, and communicator with the MDT staff involved in the patient care. So assessment is mandatory. So in patient assessment system, we need to learn the things we need to assess. First one is basic life support. So basic life support is concerned with providing cardio and respiratory support to the patient manually, we can say, in which we are resuscitating the patient. We are trying to regaining the patient cardiac conduction system. Along with we are giving mouth to mouth breathe for chest life support. We can say this is the advanced care which we are giving after BLS. So if BLS is not succeeded and patient is not regaining his condition after like shock and after sudden falling, like patient is having cardiac arrest, then we need to go for advanced life support. So advanced life support is concerned with giving emergency drugs, applying line, and mainly intubating the patient and place the patient on ventilatory support. Next one is acute life-threatening events recognition and treatment. So this system is known as alert system, in which we are assessing the events which are threatful for the life, and we are recognizing them earlier so that we can cure the patient at time. Next is advanced trauma life support. So advanced trauma life support is a advanced branch of nursing, and we can say this is a specialty mainly in emergency team, that is also have subdivisions. So ATLS mainly is for curing the traumatic cases. Okay, so emergency team is dealing with this ATLS, and it is having individual diploma course also, which is preparing trained nurses for in this particular branch. So before starting all these three assessment system, we need to learn a proper approach. Based on that, we can follow this system. So first one, when you are going to assess the patient, so there is a criteria, there is a certain points. It is like A, B, C, D, E. So A is for airway. means you need to make sure whether the patient airway is clear or not, and you need to make sure proper spine support. Like if you have if you have gone to the patient for assessing the patient airway, so in case patient is having any spinal injury, that time you should not stretch the patient airway or patient head tilt. You should not make clear. So there is a particular maneuver that is known as jaw thrust maneuver for clearing the patient airway. Second is B for breathing. Breathing, you need to check, you need to assess for checking whether the patient respiratory system is working, whether the patient is taking oxygen inhalation and exhalation process on the time or not. Third part is C. C is for circulation. So how we will check circulation? For assessing the circulation, we need to check the patient pulse. So mainly at this emergency time, we are going to check the carotid pulse, which is located here at the side of the sternocleidomastoid muscles. On each side, we can see there is a laterally placement of carotid artery where we can check the carotid pulsation. For at least 10 seconds we need to check that for proper circulation. Next is D. D for deficit in neurological status. So here for assessing the neurological status, we need to apply GCS scale here, that is known as Glasgow Coma scale, in which we are monitoring and we are assessing the neurological status data based on 3 parameters, that is known as EVM, which is having a mnemonic EVM. E is for eye response, V is for verbal response, and M for motor response, and each one is dealing with a particular unit. So if you are talking about this highest possible score of the GCS scale, that is 15, and the least possible score of GCS scale is 3. So each one, like E, eye response, so least possible score of eye response will be 1, and for verbal response will be 1, and for motor response also will be 1. Why we are not giving 0 to not considering 0 as a least possible score? Cause the patient is alive. Okay, patient has not died, so we have to give 1 as a least possible score. That is why we are considering 3 as least possible score of GCS scale. Clear? And highest possible score of all these are 15. So eye response are, we are giving 4 numbers for eye response, and 5 number for verbal response, and 6 number for motor response. So if we are going to do total and addition all these 4 plus 5 plus 6, it will be 15. That is the highest possible score of GCS scale. And how come we know that the patient is fully conscious, patient is semi-conscious, or patient is partially conscious? So if the patient is having the number between 12 to 5, means we can say the patient is conscious. 7, 8 to 12, this is the score. We can say the patient is partially conscious. So in this stage, patient will be having slurred speech, little bit disoriented, like this. He might be showing the symptom. And the GCS scale, if it is showing less than 8, okay, it means the patient is not fully conscious and it need ventilatory support. At this time, we need to intubate the patient for providing proper ventilation. Next, fifth one is E. E for environment and exposure. So we need to check whether the patient is oriented to environment or not. A for airway. In this slide, we will be exploring how to assess airway and what is the need to assessing the airway. In this slide, we will be learning B for breathing. Then what is the need to assess breathing pattern? Why we want to assess breathing, and how do we carry out the comprehensive respiratory assessment? Next, C for circulation. So what is the significance of circulation and how do we assess the patient? So in circulation, we need to assess the central venous pressure. What do you mean by central venous pressure? So this is the core blood pressure, we can say, that is present in our body and which we can gain at the time of severe traumatic condition of the patient. For this, we need to insert a line to the major vein. So the major vein is located generally the subclavian area, internal jugular. Here we can insert the needle in this area for assessing the central venous pressure. So this is the procedure which is performing under full aseptic technique, and radiologist and anesthetist can perform this procedure. For doing this, patient need to place in supine position or in Trendelenburg position, which promote venous filling, aids catheter placement and reduces risk of air embolism. Clear? So, for taking central venous pressure, what we need to make, we need to place the patient in supine position and head should be tilted so that the internal jugular or subclavian area will be visible, and there is nothing which should interfere with the doctor's hand movement, and technician should be there, and there will be a proper maintenance and of sterile field should be there. So before performing this procedure, that particular site which is to be incised for introduction of the catheter, it should be, firstly it should be cleaned with betadine and chlorhexidine solution. After that it should be cleaned with the normal saline, so that the area should not with the change of color. Next, what the doctor will do, he will be arranging the articles, and that articles will be in fully sterile field. So with the help of technician, each and every items will be passed out to the doctor in the right hand of the doctor, so that he can perform the procedure, and step by step each and everything will be followed. And meanwhile, the doctor can see the location of that stunt and location of that like line, what line is going to make inside the tube on the needle, he can see in the C-arm. So after insertion of this line, patient need to make sure whether this is in proper position or not. For confirming the position, patient can do, doctor can perform proper, like he will be having portable X-ray machine and portable ultrasonography. It will be portable ultrasonography mainly. So he will be applying the probe. He will be applying the probe, and after application of the jelly, and then he will be placing near the area where he is supposing the tip of the catheter should be. So what do you mean by CVP, or what do you mean by central venous pressure? So this we can say it is a direct measurement of blood pressure from a different approach, we can say. So it is the area where we are locating the tip of the catheter for assessing the central venous pressure. So this is the place at the right atrium where superior vena cava is merging with the right atrium. So at the base of that area, we are inserting the tip of the catheter for getting central venous pressure. So this is the part of full hemodynamic assessment. So when we are going to take hemodynamic assessment for the patient, so CVP is one of the most common parameters in that. Next, it is used as a guide in fluid replacement. It used as a established deficit in blood volume, and used for drug administration, maintaining nutrition also. Means applying the line, inserting the CVP line in patient is not only for taking and assessing the central venous pressure alone. It is associating with like you are replacing the fluid to the patient, because as you know, patient have meet severe traumatic condition, and you are maintaining the fluid deficit. You are providing the heavy fluid in a large amount when you are supposed to give to the patient. That time you need to apply the CVP line, and condition which are not allowing patient to ingest food, to digest food, and to take orally food. All these condition, when patient cannot take food orally and cannot digest food, means maybe like patient have undergone any GI surgery. Okay, so in that condition you need to insert CVP line for allowing patient total parenteral nutrition. So total parenteral nutrition, you know, this is providing nutrition to the patient by giving nutrition in the bloodstream. So as a nurse, what will be your responsibility for maintenance of CVP line? So use of this score is very necessary. You should be knowing as a critical care nurse, and you need to follow each and every critical care policies and principle. Based on that, you need to work so that you can assess the patient condition on the time, and you can plan, you can intervene, and you can, when you are evaluating the patient condition, hope it will be better. So it is based on your critical thinking, based on your accountability, it is based on your knowledge, it is based on your practical expertise. So this lecture is all about the generally assessing the critical care patient, which we have learned. Clear? Hope this class will be clear to you, and for this class you can refer. So these are the references and these are the links which I am sharing. Going this you can, and clicking on this you can share the research, and you can gain knowledge related to this topic. Hope this class will be clear to you. But I want to tell you what knowledge I have given in this class. It will be useful for you. Thank you all for listening.